Hey everyone, this is Braid with Pickleball Effect. I'm really excited to be joined with Allyce Jones. She's a recently turned pro. She's a PPA signed player and has also recently signed a contract with Joola along with Ben Johns, Chuck Taylor, and a couple others. So it's a pretty elite group that joined them. So really excited to have you to talk about kind of your road to pro and your new sponsor slip deal. So thanks for being here, Allyce.
Yeah. Thank you.
The first question that I wrote down here is I just want to hear, your story, your journey to turning pro. When you started and when you kind of figured out like, hey, I can compete at the highest level.
So I have an interesting journey. Obviously, I'm a high school teacher and a volleyball coach at the time for the last 10 years. And in 2019, before my season started, me and my husband decided that was going to be our last season. It had been a long journey of coaching at Pleasant Grove, but I was just spending a lot of time away from my kids. And so we decided to be done. And luckily, it ended on a state championship. So it was like so worth it.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you do it.
Exactly. And I also was a club director, which is a volleyball club director. So I owned a whole club. And when COVID hit, that was really tough on that kind of business. It was a lot of stress. And me and my husband were like, man, we're really struggling being inside our houses, and just so my business was just like sucking. So finally, we decided, hey, we got to pick up something, do something to get us out of the house. So we started going to my high school gym and playing pickleball while our kids rode their bikes. Anyway, so we were just doing that for fun. And then that turned into like a crazy addiction, like anyone else who starts pickleball. And I started training like every day, started playing outside in the fall, and just was trying to it was January 2021 that I woke up at 5 a.m. every day. And actually it was 4:30, so I can be there by 5, and just started morning training every single day before I taught high school. And then it turned into evening.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah. And so and then I met, yes.
So you're still currently doing high school? So you're doing that while competing on the tour?
Yeah, I didn't expect to sign in January, but when the opportunity came, it was there and I wanted to take it. But I will be going part-time next year. Yeah. So I'm only be teaching every other day next year. Yeah. So. Good
for you. Cool. Yeah. Back to the story. Okay. So you met Megan.
Yeah, so I met Megan in end of March, and it was the first woman that I found in Utah besides Callie Jo Smith that really hit hard. And I was like, hey, This girl's good. And every time we teamed up together during rec play, we were beating everyone 11-0, 11-1. And so we were just like, hey, maybe we should play together. And then that turned into a good friendship that turned into competing for the next year. And then we decided to sign together in January of this year. So
you and Megan are playing together. You're dominating rec. I mean, I imagine it's a big jump from what you're doing to the pro level.
Yes.
What was your first pro experience? And what was was there any eye opening? Okay, maybe this is harder than I thought it was going to be, or maybe it was easier. I don't know.
Yeah. So our first one, in Newport, we went 0-2. We just saw shots that we weren't used to. I remember Lauren Stratman doing a flick at me, backhand flick, and me and Megan were like, "Whoa!" We didn't know
what was that?
We hadn't seen that shot. Yeah, and Leia did one on us too, and me and Megan were like, "Oh, this is different. We've got to develop more shots and start playing with better people in Utah to be able to defend those and do those." So, yeah, that was definitely a game changer from 5-0. There's definitely a different level.
Yeah, so in your progression, 4-5 to 5-0, 5-0 to pro, is that the biggest jump, 5-0 to pro, as far as
yes.
The game changes?
For sure. Less errors, they just don't make any mistakes, and balls come back that you think are putaways are coming back. And they'll hit you in different spots, obviously with speed ups and stuff that are way different from 5-0 to pro.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool to hear. Tell me something about being a pro player that maybe a lot of people don't know.
I would say the tournament weeks are the weeks that are more chill. At least for me as a pro, I'm traveling and getting to the tournament and playing rec games and drilling while I'm there. But when I come home, I'm drilling usually 3 times a day sometimes at least 3 times a day, sometimes two times, even if it's just 45 minutes with my ball machine is one session, and then I have multiple sessions throughout the day. But I get so sore on my non-tournament weeks. Like my body is put through the ringer. And then like Sundays is like my day off and I sleep a lot. I think people always think that like, oh, it's just so much of a grind with all the traveling and the tournaments. I'm like, no, that's the easy part. Like
that's the easy part. The grind's at home.
Yeah, the grind's at home when you're training, if you want to be the best. So.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to your game specifically, what do you think is the next progression for you? Like, what are you training on? What are you working on?
Sure. Right now, what I've been really training with doubles is speeding up in the correct spots. So hitting people here, their left hips, and when I'm speeding up down the middle, things like that. And then also countering on their speed ups where they're hitting me, because that's just been the biggest difference with pro is being able to counter with these different spots. It's not going to be right on my backhand where I'm sitting up, right? I have to be ready for this shot or Ben's little curve shot that goes over my head. So he has some tricky shots.
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up. Yeah, he's got some unique stuff. But yeah, I've been seeing that a lot. Like people, like the term fade has become really popular. People shifting to like when people are hitting your hips, you shift to make that more of a backhand counter.
Yes.
And I don't think people were talking about that a year ago. And that's an element of the game. As people are getting more accurate, you can't just stand there and counter. You have to be more proactive about it.
Yes. Feet moving and ready. And
cool. Yeah. Those are some good thoughts. Now I want to talk about this sponsorship with Joola. So you were signed on, you had Ben, Chuck Taylor, and then there was a couple others. How long have you been talking with them before this came about? So
mine is a little bit later because I was talking to some other companies about paddle companies.
So is this your first paddle sponsorship deal?
Yes.
I've seen you play with Franklin. I've seen you play with the Dynam Icon. Like you've been floating around so many paddles, so it's fun to see you land on one.
I was really trying to find a paddle that would fit my game because honestly, every time me and my husband would talk, all I cared about was winning. Like, I just want to find a paddle that I can win with. Like, that's all that matters. And each one, like, so many that I've tried, I'm like, okay, there's some that definitely don't fit my game. But then there were some that I'm like, oh, I can work with this paddle. And as soon as I started trying the Joola paddle, though, I definitely saw a difference with the grit face. So I'm using the Joola.
Yeah, pull it out. Let's see it.
Yeah, right here. This one. The CAS, so carbon abrasion surface, 13.5 millimeter. So I've already noticed a difference with this one. Like that grit is not coming off, which is awesome. And it has enough power and control for me to get into the kitchen effectively. So I'm really liking it. I haven't tested it out enough time because I needed a little bit more time with the other ones, the other Ben John series. But when I try out those two, I mean, I could make a change with one of those. They just have so many options, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, they dropped 8 paddles. I think there's like 6, performance level paddles. So
yes,
it sounds like you've hit them all, but haven't maybe still want to spend some time with the others. But this is the one you landed on. Yeah,
so I landed on that one just because literally Red Rock was in a week, and I was like week and a half, 2 weeks. So I was just like, okay, I need to play with something that is a little bit similar to what I've been playing with, but also a big difference. I can always tell when my paddle fits my games with my drives and drops and dinks. Like, as long as I can do those 3, everything else can work, So
yeah, it'll come around.
This one fits my game perfectly right now.
Yeah, I'm most interested about the face. So I haven't held one yet. But like the way they describe the grit, I was like, is it kind of the Ben Johns, like the old Ben Johns where it wore off in like 2 seconds, but it's not that way?
No. Like, I played with this
one.
Is
it sandpapery? Like, how does it feel?
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit sandpapery. And you can feel a little bit of the ridges on it as well. It's one of those I played.
The ridges, what do you mean the ridges?
Like, I don't know how to exactly explain it, but just along the paddle, I can just feel that there is...
Oh, like the ridges of like the grit.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Gotcha.
That's what I meant. Yeah. But I'm training with it 3 times a day at least. And it's been consistent for 3 weeks and it's done great.
Okay. Yeah. That's, it seems like if it's still there after that 2-3 week of hard use, like it's good.
Yes.
If it's going to wear out, like it's going to wear out before then.
Exactly. Yes.
Cool. So you went with the 13.5. That's on the thinner side. Mm-hmm. Do you do any modifications with the lead to stabilize it at all?
Yeah, I do put, I haven't on this one, but I do weight it the top just to give it a little bit more power on my counters and drives. So yeah, I do need,
cool,
I think
love
everyone always has to modify the weight to fit them perfectly.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good thing to kind of play around with if anyone listening hasn't done it yet.
Yes.
Cool. So I do have a question about the grip. So it's got that rib grip. Electrum does that too. I personally am not a huge fan of it. It's kind of like, to me, like I see rib grips as like the grips that you see on like cheap Amazon paddles. I want to hear your opinion. Are you going to keep the rib grip? Are you going to replace it? What are your thoughts on it?
I actually love it. And the reason why is because, I mean, when you play multiple hours a day, it starts to get, obviously your hands are sweaty and things like that, and I can feel it. I usually, in my past paddles, I like tear this up right here for some reason. And like they're just, to me, that's what happens. I know it's cheaper. But this one, I can grip it well. And sometimes with past paddles, like if I go hard on overheads, it'll slip out of my hands. And this grip actually keeps it stable. So I think it helps.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Sweaty hands.
I'll have to give it another try.
Get used to it because it's good.
Well, awesome. Yeah. So as far as the future of you and pickleball, you mentioned earlier, right now you're teaching full-time, but you're going to go part-time next year. Pickleball, that's the future for you? You want to pursue it? You want to go all in on it? Yeah.
I mean, first of all, you only live once, and if you have an opportunity to be a top athlete in the world, like, why not go for it, for sure. And I also, I have opportunities. Have you heard of pickle roll? Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've seen you post about it. It's kind of like you just roll it out on the cement, and you got the court, you don't have to paint lines or anything, or tape lines.
Yes, and it's the actual official court surface. It's incredible. And so with my relationship with them and helping develop their product to grow, and then now my recent Joola sponsorship, I mean, teaching is something I love to do. I honestly don't even need to teach. My husband is the breadwinner, but I just do it because I love it. And so if I can scale it down a little bit and still keep doing it what I love, and then do pickleball as well, it's something that's now a bigger passion. And I can do both. Because honestly, I think if I took everything out, I don't know. I'm just like, I probably would wreck my body, to be honest. My body needs breaks, but my mind...
it sounds like your schedule is so heavy right now.
My mind doesn't want breaks. And so teaching actually is almost like a break for my body. It forces my mind, I have to be somewhere else. So rest your body, and then I'll get back to my training. Because I could train, this is why I'm really excited for part-time, because I can get up in the morning, train before my kids wake up, and then get them off to school, get some food in me, have another training session, get some lunch in me, do some rehab, do another training session, pick up my kids, do their extracurricular activities, and then at night. I'm just stoked for part-time. But that's how my mind works. Cool. So if I did that every day in my body, I'd probably be getting injured. So I'm actually glad I'm kind of doing both.
Well, I'm so glad you found what works for you. And really excited to keep watching you progress and push the sport. Good luck at Red Rock this week.
Thank you.
Excited to keep things going. For the people watching, they want to follow you. You on Instagram, YouTube. Where do we find you?
At AllyceJones.pickleball. Yep. Follow me. And
there it is.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Sounds good, Allyce. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Braden.